Hey guys, welcome back to the Prosta English podcast. My name is Nika and I'm glad to talk to you today. The last episode of the podcast was called Signs of a Healthy Relationship. We discussed various green flags in relationships like honest and open communication, emotional and practical support, and shared vision and goals. And I believe that it was a rather positive and inspiring episode. But in today's episode, we will be talking about red flags in relationships. As I always say, I'm not a psychologist, and I believe every relationship is unique. What feels wrong to one couple might be okay and fine for another. But anyway, there are some behaviors, actions, and patterns that are negative for everyone. So today I want to share a few common red flags that you should be aware of and pay attention to. At first I was planning to mention physical violence or physical abuse as the first red flag in relationships. But later on, I realized that for me, it's not just a red flag. It's a huge banner where it's written in big capital letters, run away and never ever look back. Because I would never be with a person who uses physical force, who hits me or hurts me, because I believe that anything can be solved by talking and communicating. Yeah, sometimes we all have some misunderstandings and we can get very emotional, so we can shout loudly and scream and cry and even throw plates and break things. But we cannot cause physical harm to our partners. For me, that's not acceptable. But unfortunately, in our world, there are many cases of domestic violence, and it's a very serious problem. Lots of women are ashamed to talk about it. Many of them do not have a place to go. Some worry about their children or do not have enough money to raise their children alone. So they stay in those terrible relationships for years and sometimes for their entire lives. But at the same time, there can be emotional violence or emotional abuse, which is sometimes harder to recognize and identify. Emotional abuse includes things like constant criticism, making someone feel bad about themselves, or making them doubt in their own thoughts. For example, my friend Olga was in a relationship where her boyfriend blamed her for everything. If, for example, he was late for work, he would say it was because she distracted him. If he was upset, he would say it was because she wasn't supportive enough. And over time, Olga started to believe that she wasn't good enough, and she felt really sad all the time. And it took her a long time to recover after that relationship and start believing in herself again and start loving herself again. So be careful, guys. Your partners should protect you both physically and emotionally. There is enough harm and enough violence in our world. So, relationships should be our safe islands where we can hide from all other problems in the world and feel happy. The second red flag in a relationship is poor communication. I truly believe that good communication is the foundation of a strong relationship. And if there is no communication at all, or if this communication is full of negativity, it can also lead to bad situations and even a breakup. For example, one of my friends dated a guy who completely didn't want to talk to her whenever there was a conflict. And instead of discussing their problems, instead of talking about their issues, he would simply ignore her for days or sometimes send short and cold messages. And of course, over time, she started feeling anxious and afraid to express her feelings because she didn't want to upset him. I really think that in healthy relationships, both people work together to solve problems and express their emotions openly. But if your partner avoids communication or reacts with anger or silence, for me, that's a serious red flag. Now let's move on to the third point, which is constant criticism and disrespect. A friend of mine used to date a guy who constantly made fun of her in front of others. He would laugh and then say, "Oh, it's just a joke." But those silly jokes were always about her appearance and intelligence. And of course, she always felt embarrassed and hurt. Another example is my classmate who was in a relationship where her boyfriend always criticized her choices, even the smallest ones. If she chose a movie to watch or a song to play, he would always say, "Okay, let me choose because you have terrible taste." And if she wore something he didn't like, he would make fun of her outfits and tell her to change. And of course, over time, she started to feel like she couldn't do anything right and became very shy. Of course, it doesn't mean that you should love everything your partner selects or chooses. But if every choice and decision your partner makes annoys you so much, then maybe you're with the wrong person. Maybe you shouldn't waste each other's time if you are completely different and cannot accept those differences. But for me, a relationship where your partner always puts you down and ignores your opinions or makes you feel bad about yourself is not acceptable. That's not love, that's disrespect. And in a healthy relationship, your partner should always make you feel good about yourself, not bring you down. Now let's talk about extreme jealousy. I think a little jealousy is okay, it's totally fine. It can show that you care about the person, you don't want to share them with anyone, or you're afraid of losing them. I'll say again, I'm talking about jealousy in small amounts. But when jealousy becomes constant, when your partner is checking your phone, reading your messages, or questioning who you talk to all the time, that's not okay. It shows a lack of trust and shows that this person has a low level of self esteem. I know some girls who forbid their boyfriends to talk to any women. If their boyfriends talk to, for example, a female coworker, or even reply to a message from a female friend, these girls start arguing, yelling, and creating drama. And I really think it's exhausting and unhealthy. Another example is my friend Lisa, whose boyfriend would always question her every time she went out with her friends. And if, for example, she went to a party or dinner with her girls, he would constantly send her text messages throughout the night asking where she was and who she was with. And of course, over time, this made Lisa feel like she had to explain herself all the time, and in the end, caused a lot of difficulties in their relationship. I really think that extreme jealousy often leads to controlling behavior and can destroy a relationship over time, while trust is the foundation of any healthy relationship, and without it, things can quickly go wrong. That's it for today, guys. To sum up, in this episode, we have discussed some red flags in relationships, like physical and emotional abuse, poor communication, constant criticism, extreme jealousy, and controlling behavior. And these are all signs that something is wrong, and it's important to think carefully about the relationship. Remember, a healthy relationship should make you feel safe, respected, and loved. It should help you grow and to be the best self, not to make you feel bad or worn out. If you notice any of these red flags, it's important to talk to your partner honestly about it. And if needed, ask for help from a professional, for example, a psychologist or a family therapist. In the end, your happiness and your well being are what matters most because you deserve a relationship where you feel valued and you can be yourself. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to today's episode and in general for staying with me. I know that at the end of the year, usually in December, many streaming services like Yandex Music or Spotify share your favorite songs, albums, and bands of the year. And recently, many of you sent me messages on Instagram saying that Prosta English podcast has become your favorite podcast of the year. Some of you even sent me screenshots from different platforms showing your favorite podcast is Prosta English. You know, it's unbelievable, really. It made me smile and gave me so much energy to keep working on this project. So, thank you one more time for listening to this podcast regularly and for sharing it with your friends or on social media. It really means a lot to me, and I'm truly grateful for that. And of course, if you want to stay in touch more often, I invite you to follow me on Instagram and Telegram. There, I share more about my life. You can find the links in the description under this episode. Have a wonderful day, guys, and take care. Keep in touch. Bye bye.